So let me guess, you're struggling to get views on your reels. Maybe you feel like every reel you post, you're stuck at 200 or 300 views and you just can't push past it. Through my own experience and experimentation and through observing other creators, I've landed on 3 main mistakes that you're probably making if you feel like your reels just aren't getting the views that they should be. So I wanted to share those 3 mistakes with you today, as well as the solutions that you can implement to fix them. And of course, welcome back to another coffee chat with Katie. I am back on my pumpkin spice. I'm even kind of wearing a pumpkin spice shirt today, but seriously, I need to put you onto this iced pumpkin spice latte. Skip the whipped cream, instead add the pumpkin cold foam. You will not regret it. It's a beautiful day to talk about Instagram. I took a little walk to my local Starbucks to pick up this delicious beverage. Make sure you let me know in the comments what you're drinking today, or what your go-to drink of choice for the current season is. I am a sucker for the pumpkin spice. Okay, the first mistake that you might be making if you feel like your reels are consistently flopping is that you're just following generic trends. Look, I get it. There were times back in 2020 and 2021 where I felt like if I wanted to be successful with my reels, I just had to replicate the latest lip sync or dance trend. But sometimes it just doesn't fit with your niche or your personal brand. I really feel like the Instagram strategy space is full of people telling you that you need to do trendy content if you really want to blow up on Instagram. But the problem is mass trends don't work for every single brand or niche. And the last thing you want to do is create content that feels really inauthentic to you, and therefore inauthentic and unrelatable to your target audience. Let me show you some examples so we can all sit in this cringe together, because my old reels, I'm telling you, girl, like, what was I doing? I feel like you can tell what I was going for here, but it just doesn't hit quite right. It's a little bit too generic and like, I don't know, like, what exactly am I saying here? Just that it's like hard work being a content creator. Like, okay, I feel like this is just kind of what everyone was doing back then. But the thing is, like, sometimes trends really make sense for you and your audience and your story and like the content that you want to make, but sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. And you shouldn't try to make it fit if it just doesn't, because I think that's what a lot of creators are trying to do, is take every single audio that they see with that like up and to the right arrow and use it in some kind of way. And I understand the inclination towards that, because it is really easy just to put on audio and lip sync to your phone, but as evidenced by my examples, it's not always going to be the most effective. The solution to this, I really suggest having a healthy mix of trendy and original content, and really reserving those trendy slots in your content calendar for trends that really, really match with your brand and your content. Okay, don't judge me, but you miss out on all of this if you don't. The second mistake that you might be making, and this one is probably going to shock some people, is posting for the sake of consistency. You don't have to have watched a bunch of videos like mine to know that the #1 piece of advice for growing on Instagram is to post consistently. But if you are treating your reel like it's just another task to check off the list, instead of treating it like the strategic and creative process that it is, then you probably won't see the results that you want to see. What I mean by this is, if you go about creating your reels by just simply scrolling through your reels feed for a couple of minutes, stumbling upon the first trending audio that you find, and then adding some quick B-roll to it, adding some generic text on top, and then posting it just so you can say you posted a reel that day, you're probably not gonna be super happy with the views that you get on it. Alternatively, what you really want to be doing is thinking carefully about who your target audience is, what's relatable or aspirational to them, what are their hopes and fears, what are their struggles, and how would they actually go about talking about them, what kind of language would they use. Thinking about what content of yours has performed well in the past, what hasn't done so well, what are the features of each of those pieces of content, and what about them can you either leave behind or replicate in order to see similar results. This is all of the kind of stuff that you really want to be thinking about in your Reels content creation process. It's not just this checkbox where you're like, okay, great, I found an audio, I put some clips to it, I posted it, you know, task done for the day. Of course, you can approach it like that, but if you have been doing that, then you probably aren't getting that many views. You want to think about it in this more holistic, creative way. How does your reel contribute to your brand as a whole? How does it connect with your end viewer? It's all about coming up with those really good ideas and concepts. A strong concept for a reel, so the actual information you're sharing, the value, the hook, the headline, whatever it might be, like that is really gonna be the game changer. The particular audio you use, the exact length of it, the time that you post it, the text font that you choose for it, like all of that stuff is secondary. I think a lot of people get caught up in those things, but the reality is no matter how much you optimize the audio, the length, your posting time, if it's a mediocre concept, it's not gonna get a lot of views. So you really wanna reinvest that time that you have been using stressing over those little things and put it into coming up with a really strong idea that speaks to your audience. It's either relatable or aspirational to them, and it's something that you've really crafted thoughtfully. That's the important thing. Now, I will admit, it is important to go about your Reels content creation in a thoughtful manner, but I can't say that consistency isn't important, and that's why it's hard. Like, that's why I'll be honest with you, growing a large audience on Instagram is difficult because you need to be thoughtful and creative and strategic when you're making your content. And then you also need to do that pretty frequently. I know that balancing your creativity and organization can be really difficult, and that's why I created my free Notion content calendar template. So if you want a way to be able to plan out your content in advance so that you can be strategic and thoughtful about it, but also post consistently, check it out. It's linked in the description below. I personally live by planning my content in advance so that I can come up with strong concepts and still make sure that I'm posting my Reels 5 times a week. Now, while Reels views are an important metric for growth on Instagram, there are some things that are more important. Specifically, your sales conversions. It can be so easy to get caught up in what are really vanity metrics, Reels views, follower count, like count. But if you're a business owner or even a content creator looking to sell a product or a service, maybe a course, for example, then your ability to convert your Instagram viewership into actual customers is way more important than your total viewership. And that is exactly what I cover in my new free course that I produced with Thinkific, who is also the sponsor of this video. Thinkific is the preferred creator platform for producing and offering online courses. My course with Thinkific is totally free for you to take in the Thinkific Academy. All you need to do is sign up for a Thinkific account, and then you'll have access to the Thinkific Academy, which is full of helpful resources on marketing and digital sales. My course is called How to Grow Your Education Business with Instagram. I talk all about content strategy, methods for selling without coming across as salesy in your content. So you can check out my course on the Thinkific Academy. I'll link it in the description. And thanks again to Thinkific for sponsoring this video. The third problem you might be running into if you have low Reels views is that you've got the format right, but the substance just isn't there. This could be your struggle if you really feel like, man, like I am doing everything right, I'm following all of the advice, and still I'm not seeing results. Basically, you could have the format of a successful reel completely dialed in, the hook, a call to action, it's short and fast paced, you got that trending audio, but if the substance or the concept isn't there, it's just not gonna work, even if you've packaged it perfectly. Just because something is formatted in a really catchy way, like it's written as a hook, doesn't mean that it's necessarily gonna draw people in. Let me share some examples with you and how I would adjust them. Okay, for example, 3 surprising reasons why you need to eat your vegetables. You won't believe how cleaning your house affects your mood. 3 reasons why you'll have fun on your next vacation. These 2 habits are time management game changers. Like, I get what all of these are trying to do, right? Like, you can see how these are sort of formatted in a catchy hook sort of style. But the reality is they're taking such mundane things that don't feel that surprising or that curiosity inducing. It almost comes across as too obvious, or like the viewers already drawn their own conclusions, or they don't even need to be convinced of it, like in the case of why you're gonna have fun on vacation. That doesn't mean you can't create successful content about mundane topics. It just means that you need to really think about how you can drive curiosity and keep people engaged. So here's how I would rewrite those hooks. Like, let's say this is the first sentence at the start of your reel. Here's how I would rewrite them so that they actually feel more enticing. For the first one, why don't we try how to live longer, feel better, and have more energy in one simple step. You can see how this is more results oriented, and the mundane part of eating your vegetables, which is going to do all those things for you, is kind of hidden, so you're waiting for that reveal. For the second one, I would try studies show this simple daily act can increase your productivity, mental health, and happiness. Very similar idea as the first thing, right? Eating your vegetables, cleaning your house. These are mundane things that we all know are good for us, so we don't need to be convinced of that. But if we kind of obscure that and let that be the reveal and instead give people the outcome and then reveal the process after the fact, it'll just be a little bit more engaging. Okay, here's how I'd rewrite the third one. We all love travel, but did you know it has health benefits too? Here's 3 reasons to book your next trip ASAP. So this almost admits, yeah, we know you don't need to be convinced to want to go on a trip, but here are some of the other benefits you might not have thought of. Okay, and for the final one, I would change it to, I save 10 hours per week with just these 2 easy habits. I feel like sometimes people like to lean on buzzwords like kind of game changers or whatever that have kind of lost their sting in a way. So if I see something like 2 easy habits that are time management game changers, I'm kind of like, that doesn't give me a strong enough incentive. It's a game changer. Okay, in what sense? But to give some kind of measurable thing to it, like I save 10 hours per week doing this, you can see how that's a lot more enticing. Okay, so that's just like a few examples and a little bit of a workshop to show you how I would approach taking your maybe like lackluster hooks or concepts and shifting them into something that's going to be a lot more enticing and grab the attention of your viewer in that Reels feed. Here's a few general tips to help you with this. For one, you really want to try to get in the mind of your potential viewer. Like try to ask yourself what kind of language they would use around the topic that you want to speak on and use that. For example, I know with a lot of experts and things like people who are educating others, this can be a tricky area because once you become very well versed in your, technical topic, then you kind of forget how beginners would talk about it and you maybe use terminology that they don't even understand yet. For example, like if a photographer was trying to teach how to get a really nice depth of field or even how to achieve bokeh, these are terms like bokeh and depth of field that complete photography beginners might not have heard of. So in that case, it would be more effective to say in your reel, I'm gonna teach you how to get a blurry background because beginners understand that terminology. So think about what that might mean in your particular field. One way to do this, another tip I have for you, is look at how other people in your niche are talking about things. Try to get a sense of the general cultural conversation around the subject areas that you want to speak on, because you might find out that there are kind of trendy terms or just ways people are framing these things up that might help you more quickly communicate with your audience. I'll give an example in my particular niche. This is something I have noticed a lot. When I'm talking about being a content creator, I often talk about like starting your business, become a full-time creator, start your content creator journey. That's how I think about it in my mind. But when I'm scrolling through TikTok or Reels, what I find is a lot of content creators, especially younger than me, tend to talk about it like taking social media seriously or taking your Instagram seriously. That's the kind of way that they frame it up. So even though I'm kind of using the more, I guess, old people language of being like starting a business, they're like, oh, this is taking Instagram seriously. It's just like a more informal kind of way to talk about it. So I can have that information in my mind now that when I'm trying to create content, maybe I will frame it in the sense of, here's how to start taking YouTube seriously. So just doing that kind of market research to figure out how is your target audience talking about these things. Maybe they don't say bokeh, maybe they say blurry background. Maybe they don't say starting your creator business, they say taking YouTube seriously. Figure out what that means for you. And final tip for you, ask yourself with any hook that you come up with, is it possible for you to reorient this headline to be more results-based rather than process-based? Just like with that first example of here's why you need to eat your vegetables. Okay, you're telling people to do the process, right? But instead changing it to this is how you can live longer, feel better, have more energy. That's the result, right? And then you come in with the process after you've sold them the result. It's a lot easier to sell the result than the process. And probably most importantly, you need to really ask yourself with any headline, hook, or concept you come up with, really try to be harsh with yourself and say, would this stop me from scrolling? Would I stop to watch this to the end? If some stranger on the internet made this, would I be interested in it? It's really easy to be sort of overly sympathetic to ourselves because it's us and it's our content. And we think, yeah, I'd be into that. Ask yourself really, would you really stop scrolling to watch a video called 3 Reasons Why You Should Eat Your Vegetables? Like figure out would that really entice you? That can kind of be your like litmus test for whether or not you want to continue with that concept or if you need to rework it. If you want your reels and their reach to improve, it really is all about creating something that is going to stop someone from scrolling. You got to get them engaged in what you're talking about and get them to watch to the end. That's really the key to success. Now, like I was saying, there's 2 main ways to do this with both your trendy content and your original content. And both of them are very important parts of the strategy. You especially don't want to sleep on the original content. I break all of this down in this very in-depth YouTube video where I talk about the strategy that helped me gain over 60,000 followers so far this year. So make sure you check that out next. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.